Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Mr. Fix-It channel. Working on a Suzuki 850 again. I'm going to try to figure out why the handling of this thing just sucks. Stay tuned.
I was sitting out there in the shed one evening, not doing too much of nothing, just kind of staring at the wall. And
Okay, so this bike was never intended to be a crotch rocket, obviously, right? This is a cruiser bike, and the suspension geometry was set up way different for a cruiser than it is for a sport bike. Now, when I took this thing for its test drive in the last video, I noticed that the steering was very heavy and I had to use my body weight to lean the bike. And the reason for this is because of what's called rake and trail. Now, the rake is how far back the front forks are leaned, this way or this way. That's your rake. Your trail is, if you draw a center line from the center of the pivot of the steering straight down through, so you can't follow the fork because the pivot is actually just a little bit back. So if you draw a straight line through to the floor and then you draw a vertical line through the axle, through here, that distance there is called the trail. Now in a car this is called caster. And the reason we call it caster is because of a caster wheel. Now if you look at this wheel, you can see how the axial rotation of it this way is in front of the axial rotation of the wheel, and that allows this wheel to track anywhere that this axis goes. So if you point this axis here, that wheel is going to travel that way. So that's why it's called caster, but for some odd reason in a motorcycle it's called rake. What I need to do is I need to decrease my trail angle. So this angle and this angle, you get a measurement here. So let me back up a little bit. For straight line stability, so we're talking in a straight line this way, the axis of the steering will force this wheel to track in a straight line because the back wheel is driving it, okay? And the more that this line here comes in front of the axle, the more it's going to want to force the wheel to go in a straight line. Now that's good for high speed stability in a straight line, but when you want to turn, you have to put a lot of force input into the bars to break that track force. So what I need to do, because I have a lot of straight line stability because my trail is excessive, I need to reduce the trail by reducing the rake, if that makes sense. Now there's a couple ways I can do this. I can cut the head tube off and I can move this all back, but the problem with that is you can see how close the wheel is to the belly cowl or the belly pan, whatever this thing is here. So I only got a couple of degrees that I can actually move this, and that's a lot of screwing around. I got to go in there and cut, and it's all yeah, that's a big deal. So an easier way to do this is what I can do is I can raise the back of the bike. So you can see if I raise the back of the bike up, that's going to reduce this trail. I think that's where I'm going to start. I have these rear shocks, which are a good inch or so taller, and that will raise the back of the bike up a little bit. So before I go cutting into this and doing a bunch of changes to the frame, I'm going to try to raise the rear of the bike up to reduce this trail. That will also reduce the rake angle at the same, so yeah, you get the point. So getting the correct rake and trail on your motorcycle is important for handling. It's a balance between straight line stability and cornering, the turn in. I would like to have a good turn in on this bike. I'm not really looking for top straight line stability because where I live the roads are very curvy, nothing's really straight, and I don't ride 150 miles an hour anyway, so I'm not taking this to the track. I just want this bike to perform well in the curves. So the more I can reduce this trail, the better this bike is going to handle for me. So the first thing I need to do, since these shocks do not have any bushings in them, I need to make some bushings. Now I don't have any rubber bushings to just install in this, and I don't have any rubber to make some bushings, so I'm just going to make some solid metal bushings. This is a round of stainless steel, and it does fit quite snugly into the shock there. So I'm going to cut some bushings out of this, stick those into the lathe, and I need to make 4 pieces. So let's get into cutting some bushings for these. I got to take some measurements off of the shock posts that are on the bike. So this is where I'm going to start. Hopefully this will get me close, and if this seems to get me real close, I could actually order maybe just a little bit longer shock, but there's a limit to how high I can go with this shock, and I'll show you why. This bike being a shaft drive bike, there is a universal joint here, and I can't get this angle, because when I raise the back of the bike, this angle is going to increase here, and I don't want to get this angle too far out of the range for this universal joint here. So I can't just like put a 3-foot shot in it. So I got to be careful. I can only go so far with the height of the shock, and if that doesn't correct it, then there might be a little bit of adjustability to lower the front of the bike a little bit. That will help. And if none of that works, then I will have to cut the frame and try to change this angle a little bit. Yeah. Now I got the bike chalked up on this block of wood so that it's sitting pretty much straight up and down. So it's kind of balancing here. And I want to take a measurement from the floor to the center of that bolt right there, just as a reference. So it looks like it's right at 24.5 inches. So let's make some bushings. I gotta lop this off in 4 sections and get to turn them down. First I need to pull a shock off of the bike, and I gotta measure the mount, the post that sticks off the frame, so I can get the proper inside diameter. So I'm gonna go do that, and then we'll come back and we'll start turning these down. Alright, so it looks like it raised the bike up a little less than an inch, maybe 3/4. So that's not a whole lot of gain. And one thing that I forgot to count for, I forgot to see the sag with me sitting on it, because this spring rate's probably going to be different. But it did raise the back of the bike up a little bit, yeah, but not by as much as I was hoping. I might have to buy some longer shocks. God, I hate to spend more money, but there's at least they look better. So I really need to take it down the road to see if that really made any improvements. I don't think it did. So I guess the next thing I want to do is I need to figure out why this thing wasn't running great. It could have been those points, or I could have sucked some trash out of the tank and into the carburetors because I don't have an inline filter. There is the screen inside the petcock there, but I don't know. I think I should pull the carbs off and make sure that there's no debris in there. And if they're clean, then I need to address those ignition points again. I need to take this thing for another ride. Alright, so I just drained the carburetor bowls into this ice cream bucket lid. Yeah. So all this debris come through the screen and the petcock of the tank. So I need to check that screen, make sure that thing's not ripped open or something. But this is probably why I was having some running issues. I would have bet it was the points, but there's definitely a bunch of debris. So I'm going to pull these carbs apart and get the jets all cleaned out and start over here. How did it even run? And I thought I had the tank cleaned out. I guess I didn't get it cleaned as I thought I did. Oh my. That is disgusting. I don't even know how it even ran. Alright, well, I guess that's my issue. So I figured while I'm in these carburetors, I'm going to go ahead and swap out the jets. This is a 115. I'm going to put some 135s in. They're not exactly the same, as in the head's a little fatter on the original one, but these do thread right in here. And it does hold that washer in place, so nothing's going to move. So I'm going to use these jets, and I finally smartened up and yeah, put a fuel filter on, and since I haven't done it yet, 4 brand new spark plugs. So maybe this will make it run better, I hope. Trying to get a test ride in. Wah wah. Well guys, I was really planning on getting the test ride in on this bike this week, but the weather in March is just unpredictable, and right now it's cold and windy AF. So not only that, the battery suddenly died on this, and I'm going to have to jump start it every time, and I don't want to take this down the road and get stranded somewhere and have to go walk back, get my trailer. You know the story. So unfortunately I'm going to have to stop the video here, and this is just reality. So if you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and don't be afraid to fix it, even if it seems hopeless. Thanks for watching.